If you're over 55 and your erections feel weaker than they did even 2 years ago, this is not random. And it's probably not just testosterone. In fact, most men I see in my clinic who assume they need a pill are missing something much more basic. And here's the part most doctors don't explain clearly. After 55, erections don't disappear because you're getting older. They decline because blood flow becomes less responsive. And that process is often reversible. Now, before you click away, let me say something important. If your erections have become less firm, harder to maintain, slower to respond, or inconsistent depending on the day, that's not just performance anxiety, and it's not just aging, it's vascular efficiency. And tonight, I'm going to walk you through 4 natural methods that directly improve blood flow, without medication. One of them starts working within weeks. One improves morning erections first. And one addresses the silent vascular damage most men ignore after 55. But first, you need to understand something critical. The arteries that supply the penis are about 1 to 2 millimeters wide, smaller than coronary arteries. That means when blood flow begins declining, it shows up there first, long before major heart symptoms. Erection changes are often an early vascular signal. Now, this is not meant to scare you. It's meant to reframe the issue. Because most men make 2 mistakes. They assume it's testosterone, or they assume it's permanent. In reality, erection quality depends primarily on 3 physiological pillars: endothelial function, nitric oxide production, arterial flexibility. When those weaken, erections weaken. But here's the encouraging part. Those systems respond to input. They're dynamic. They improve when the right signals are restored. Over the past 18 years as a urologist working with men over 55, I've seen significant improvement in men who corrected very specific vascular inputs. Not extreme interventions, not exotic supplements, just targeted natural changes that restore responsiveness. Now let me ask you something. Have your morning erections become less frequent? That's usually the first vascular sign, because morning erections are reflex-driven. If they decline, it often means nitric oxide signaling is weakening. In a moment, I'll explain the first natural method, and it's something most men overlook because it sounds too simple, but clinically, it's one of the most powerful ways to improve endothelial responsiveness after 55. And no, it's not a supplement. It's not an herb, and it's not cold showers. In the next section, I'll break down method number 1 and explain the biological mechanism behind it. Let's start with natural method number 1. And this one is underestimated because it sounds simple. Method number 1. Daily vascular stimulation. Through brisk walking, not jogging, not gym sessions, not extreme cardio. Brisk walking, here's why. Erections are a hydraulic event. They require rapid arterial dilation. That dilation depends on something called shear stress. Shear stress is the friction created when blood flows against artery walls. When you walk briskly, enough to slightly elevate your breathing, blood velocity increases. That increased flow stimulates the endothelium to release nitric oxide. Nitric oxide relaxes blood vessels. Relaxed vessels expand. Expanded vessels allow stronger filling pressure. Now here's what happens after 55. If you sit most of the day, even if you exercise occasionally, your arteries receive very little shear stimulation. Without stimulation, endothelial responsiveness declines. Arteries become less reactive. Less reactive arteries mean weaker dilation when it matters. That's why many men say, "I still feel desire. My body just doesn't respond the same way." It's often not hormonal, it's vascular deconditioning. Now here's what's powerful. Studies show that 20-30 minutes of brisk walking daily can significantly improve endothelial function within 4-8 weeks. Not years, weeks. I had a 63-year-old patient who was convinced his issue was testosterone. His labs were borderline but not severely low. Instead of immediately escalating medication, we focused on vascular stimulation. 20 minutes of brisk walking daily, light resistance training twice per week. Within 6 weeks, morning erections returned, rigidity improved, medication responsiveness improved. Because medication works better when baseline endothelial health improves. Walking is not just exercise, it's nitric oxide training. Now here's something important. The effect compounds. The more consistent you are, the more responsive arteries become. But if you stop, responsiveness declines again. This is maintenance physiology. Now before you think that's obvious, consider this. Most men over 55 either walk too slowly, walk inconsistently, or sit for 8 to 10 hours per day. One gym session does not reverse 10 sedentary hours. Movement must be daily. But walking alone is not enough, because nitric oxide production is only one pillar. You also need to protect nitric oxide from being destroyed. Which brings us to method number 2. And this one involves something you may be doing every single night that's quietly suppressing vascular responsiveness. It's extremely common, and most men don't associate it with erection quality. In the next section, I'll explain exactly what it is, and why reducing it can sometimes produce noticeable change within weeks. Now let's move to natural method number 2, and this one is extremely common after 55. Method number 2. Reducing nightly alcohol. I'm not talking about occasional social drinking. I'm talking about the habit of a couple of glasses of wine every evening, 2-3 beers most nights, a nightly drink to relax. Here's the issue. Alcohol initially relaxes blood vessels. That's why some men feel temporarily warm or flushed. But chronically, alcohol does 3 things that directly weaken erection quality. It reduces nitric oxide availability. It increases oxidative stress. It suppresses testosterone production over time. Let's break that down. Nitric oxide is fragile. Oxidative stress destroys it quickly. Alcohol increases oxidative stress inside blood vessels. That means even if your body produces nitric oxide, less of it survives long enough to work. Now add sleep disruption. Even small amounts of alcohol reduce deep sleep quality. Deep sleep is when testosterone production peaks. Less deep sleep, lower testosterone output. Lower testosterone doesn't just affect desire, it affects vascular responsiveness. I've seen men reduce nightly alcohol for 4-6 weeks and notice stronger morning erections, improved rigidity, better consistency, not because alcohol killed their erections overnight, but because removing it restored nitric oxide balance and improved sleep architecture. Now here's something important. This is not about never drinking again. It's about frequency. If it's nightly, reduce it. If it's moderate and occasional, it's less impactful. Small adjustments often produce disproportionate results. Now let's move to natural method number 3, and this one works at the structural level. Method number 3. Targeted nitric oxide nutrition. After 55, nitric oxide production declines, but certain foods directly increase nitric oxide precursors. Specifically, beets, arugula, spinach, pomegranate. These foods either provide dietary nitrates, converted to nitric oxide, or protect nitric oxide from oxidative damage. Now here's what most people misunderstand. You don't need exotic supplements. You need consistent vascular input. For example, 4-8 ounces of beet juice, 3 to 4 times per week, daily leafy greens, pure pomegranate juice in small amounts. Within 4-8 weeks, many men notice improved vascular responsiveness, not dramatic overnight changes, but increased consistency, and consistency is what matters. I had a 67-year-old patient who combined daily brisk walking, reduced alcohol beet juice 3x per week within 8 weeks. Morning erections returned regularly. Rigidity improved. He reduced reliance on medication, not eliminated, reduced, because baseline improved. Now here's the important insight. Walking stimulates nitric oxide. Beets increase nitric oxide. Pomegranate protects nitric oxide. That's stacking mechanisms. But we're not done, because there's one more natural method, and this one is overlooked, but may be the most powerful long-term factor. It affects arterial stiffness, and arterial stiffness is one of the biggest silent contributors to weaker erections after 55. In the next section, I'll explain that final method, and then tie all four together into a clear weekly plan. Now let's talk about the fourth natural method, and this one works deeper than most men realize. Method number 4, improving arterial flexibility. Through fat quality, after 55, arteries don't just narrow, they stiffen. Healthy arteries are elastic, they expand when blood flow increases, they recoil efficiently. But with age, especially with years of inflammation, processed food, and sedentary behavior, arteries lose flexibility. Stiff arteries cannot expand fully. And if they cannot expand, blood flow is mechanically limited. That directly affects erection rigidity. One of the most effective natural ways to improve arterial flexibility is replacing inflammatory fats with extra virgin olive oil as your primary fat source. Here's why. High-quality olive oil contains polyphenols. Polyphenols reduce oxidative stress inside the endothelium. Less oxidative stress. Better nitric oxide survival. It also reduces arterial inflammation over time. Now, this is not a quick fix method. It's structural. It improves the plumbing. I've seen men who simply removed processed seed oils, reduced fried foods, used olive oil daily. Notice gradual but steady improvements over 3 to 6 months. Better stamina, more consistent erections, lower blood pressure readings, because arterial flexibility improved. Now let's zoom out and look at the full stack. You now have 4 natural methods. Daily brisk walking stimulates nitric oxide production, reducing nightly alcohol, protects nitric oxide, plus improves testosterone. Targeted nitric oxide foods increases and preserves vascular signaling. Olive oil as primary fat improves arterial flexibility long-term. Different mechanisms. Same endpoint, better blood flow. Now here's the key. None of these work in isolation, but when combined, they create compound vascular improvement. And here's what that typically looks like in real life. Weeks 2 to 4, better sleep. Slightly improved morning firmness. Increased energy. Weeks 4 to 8. More consistent erections. Improved responsiveness. Reduced on and off performance. Weeks 8 to 12. Stronger rigidity. Better endurance. Greater confidence. Not because you forced the system, because you restored vascular efficiency. Now, I want to address something directly. Many men believe, if I need a pill, that means something is broken. That's not accurate. Medication amplifies nitric oxide signaling. But when baseline improves, responsiveness improves, with or without medication. And sometimes medication becomes less necessary. After 55, erections are less forgiving of poor vascular input. But they are not beyond recovery. Your arteries are dynamic. Your endothelium responds to behavior. Change the input, change the output. Now let me ask you something. Which of the 4 methods do you think would make the biggest difference in your life right now? Walking consistency? Reducing alcohol? Nitric oxide foods? Improving fat quality? Tell me in the comments. And if this breakdown helped you understand what's actually happening inside your body, not just surface symptoms, consider subscribing. On this channel, I focus on physiology-based explanations for men over 55, because understanding reduces fear, and informed action restores confidence. I'll see you in the next video.